Breaking news on the Trump administration's plan for mass deportations in Chicago. NBC News first reporting acting Deputy Attorney General Amol Bovee is in Chicago today to actually personally observe immigration enforcement operations. DOJ released this photo of Bovee with Border Czar Tom Homan. It is not clear why Bovee is taking part. Illinois is also one of more than 20 states and cities filing lawsuits over Trump's executive order to end birthright citizenship. Protesters took to the streets of Chicago yesterday as fears of ICE raids at schools and churches take root in the city.
Any notion that would use public spaces like churches and schools, these sanctities, these sanctuaries, as a way to create political divide is not only unconscionable, but it's reprehensible.
We need to get rid of the violent criminals, but we also need to protect people, at least the residents of Illinois and all across the nation, who are just doing what we hope that immigrants will do.
Joining me now, we have Kwame Raoul, the Attorney General for the state of Illinois. Kwame, I'm so glad you're here to talk about this. First of all, can you tell us about Trump's acting Deputy Attorney General's presence there in Chicago today? What exactly is he doing on the ground there?
Well, you know what I know. It's not a surprise to me that he or others have descended upon Chicago. They made clear that Chicago and our state would be a target. I can't explain exactly what he's doing, what he plans on observing. But what I can tell you is that we have collaborated with federal law enforcement on a variety of fronts in all sorts of criminal investigations, and we will continue to do so. However, we don't partake in civil immigration enforcement. We have a Trust Act that prevents law enforcement, local and state law enforcement from doing so. And so there's a difference. There's a difference between criminal investigations and partaking in civil immigration enforcement.
So then two questions about that. First of all, you said you expected it. Were you given any sort of a courtesy call, told when it would happen, at least a day to expect it? Was there communication that way? And is there anything your office can do to protect immigrants? You say you have authority in place to do so, but what can you do?
Well, listen, first of all, immigration enforcement has taken place during Democrat administrations and Republican administrations. Mm-hmm. We are not in a position to interfere with appropriate immigration enforcement. That is the job of the federal government through ICE, and that will take place. And we're not going to interfere with that. What we will stand in the way of is having state and or local resources being used for civil immigration enforcement. We have a 10th Amendment that helps clarify the role of federalism in our country, the balance between the powers of the federal government and the state government. And there's longstanding Supreme Court precedents that says that the federal government cannot commandeer a state or local government to do the job of the federal government.
Okay, so you're distinguishing between criminal and civil actions. Criminal is one thing, but do you find the authorities are encroaching into civil immigration violations or troubles with their actions?
None of our law enforcement departments are interfering. Let's be clear that they may continue to partake in criminal investigations, but their job is to keep us safe from criminal acts being committed within the state of Illinois, not to do the job of civil enforcement or any other federal civil job. And that's how we should want our law enforcement to act.
And just very quickly, public safety interest, yes. But again, did you get a heads up about what was going to happen? Were you communicated with?
No, I probably find out about these things as much the same way as you do, through media reports. And Which is unfortunate because I came in halfway through Trump's first administration, and we've had an incredible partnership with our law enforcement partners, including Homeland Security investigations, and we've partaken in criminal investigations, and the collaborations have been great, but there has been no such communication.
Okay. You, sir, have described yourself as a birthright baby, and your state has now sued Trump over his executive order. Is this a clear constitutional violation, or can Trump push, ultimately, the Supreme Court to reinterpret the definition of birthright citizenship?
It is very clear. We don't go into interpreting our Constitution where the plain language is clear, and conservatives have long advocated for that principle of where the language is clear. You don't go through legislative history and things what they were thinking at the time and so forth. And so the judge in Seattle was very clear that it was a blatant violation of our Constitution, that any member of the bar he's surprised that any member of the bar would try to defend such a violation.
Are you, sir, concerned that ICE is going to go into sensitive areas? The ones we've been talking about, schools, churches, hospitals, we even say playgrounds, daycare centers.
You know, I'm hopeful that they do not do so, because it really upsets communities, and it creates something that undermines communities collaborating with one another, and it also undermines witnesses collaborating with law enforcement. They're fearful of coming forth with information that may help in solving crimes.
All right. Kwame Raoul, the Attorney General for the state of Illinois, thank you so much for your time, because I know you're very busy these days.